like I said, I'm still elated about the hire. You know, I'm still on high about that because if you can just look at the momentum of the program right now, man, it hasn't been on this level since probably the year before Butch Davis, the year before Butch decided to step down and go to Cleveland. That was the last bit of excitement that I had that I can remember for a coach, man, because nobody was really high on Coach Coker. They knew he was just a placeholder or whatever, but everything that he's doing right now, everything that Coach DIAZ is doing right now to me is right. And if it's wrong, you know me, I'm gonna call him out, Mark, if I see him do something wrong. But he's doing all the right things, pushing all the right buttons, getting guys out to recruit, probably outside of their comfort zone, you know, to get out there and get the best players available for the defense and for the offense that he wants to run.
The biggest thing is that Manny DIAZ has gotten people to buy into the Miami program again, because it seemed when towards the end of last season, a lot of people were losing interest in Miami. Their offense just looked sluggish. Is like ancient and sluggish is the best word to explain it. The defense, while it was performing, looked to take a step back at the end. And the most important thing is being able to get guys to buy back into the program. And while you've had the string of decommits lately, guys like Robinson, you don't want to see decommit ever, Donnell Harris, but it's still early for a lot of those guys, and a lot of things can change once the season starts and once Paradise Camp finishes and once the Hurricanes start to hopefully win games this season. I think
I feel like we can go 12-0 this year. That's my opinion.
I think they probably end up losing about 2 games. But again, in the ACC, losing 2 games isn't always going to be a downfall.
Yeah.
While the ACC is certainly weaker this year than it has been in the past, there's still a lot of talent in that conference. You play Florida week 1, and Florida last year finished in a Peach Bowl win against Michigan.
But let's look at this Michigan team that did not play nobody. They played all bench players. They didn't play nobody in that Michigan game. They almost lost to South Carolina. They had a season like Miami had 2 years ago when every fan but me was wanting to choke out Mark Richt again because the offense was so abysmal. It's been abysmal since he was there. Florida got a lot of, even though luck has a lot to do with football, but Florida got a lot of lucky wins. I think like 4 or 5 of their wins were very lucky against some subpar team as well. So I'm not too concerned about Florida. Plus, they got all these suspensions. They got enough going on in Gainesville right now that I don't even know who's going to suit up and play for them. The only team I'm concerned about really is Florida State. It's because it's Florida State. They could have me and you playing for Florida State, and we would have an opportunity to win just because it's Florida State Miami. So that's the game I'm more concerned about than Florida, just because of all the off-field issues they're having right now as well.
Kevin, what do you think of this Florida game?
I think Florida did have a lot of luck last season, but Dan Mullen's one of the best coaches in college football. There's just no denying that. What he did at Mississippi State, then going into Florida and in one of his first few seasons, really kind of turning that program into hopefully what would be the next step for just the state of Florida as a whole. The most important, the biggest issue for Miami is that they're going to go into the season with maybe a new starting quarterback, a new starting running back, offensive line looking in shambles, the defense losing your biggest leader in Jaquan Johnson, losing a lot of that D-line help in guys like Jared Willis and Joe Jackson.
We did that 2 years ago with D-line, and what happened?
I mean, yeah,
it was the same thing. When you roll players in, you roll players in. My thing is, I look at what we have. We are loaded. The only position we are not loaded at is linebacker and probably cornerback a little bit. I think we're pretty good there. But linebacker is the position of concern on the defense side of football. I'm not concerned with N'Kosi Perry at all. I feel like he's going to be the starting quarterback. So that's my position. I feel like he's going. I'm not concerned with him. I'm more concerned with Malik Rogers said it. I said it before Malik Rogers said it. Mark Richt was holding those guys back. His son was calling plays, and they were killing them. I'm not concerned with the offense. I feel like we have. If you look at top to bottom of the ACC, the only 2 teams in the ACC that has talent with us is Clemson and Florida State. Period.
Absolutely. Yeah,
so I'm not concerned about other teams. I'm really not. I just feel like we got way more talent than other teams, and I'm concerned about coaching. What is Eno's going to do? You know, it's more about what kind of offense he going to call. Whichever players he put out there, I feel like we have more talent than most everybody we play.
Absolutely. The talent in Miami is hard to deny. But I mean, I'm also concerned about Manny Diaz because he hasn't truly coached a college football game yet. He's coached the defense before, but being a head coach is significantly different than being a defensive coordinator. And while you can get people to buy in before the season starts, how is it going to be when you get into that game and then maybe you have a game where you go down 14-0, say it's against Florida? How do you get these guys who you haven't had the experience with fully yet to buy back into you? Because a lot of people are going to start losing interest if you start losing 2, 3, 4 games. And maybe it's unfair to Manny Diaz because he's a new coach. He's a rookie head coach.
That's not going to happen.
I mean, it's
not going to happen under him.
It's Miami. People lose interest quickly if you lose in Miami. That's just how
I'm just saying, but him losing 3, 4 games in a row is not going to happen. Him pulling the Mark Richt is not going to happen. I tell you what, you go back and look at his first year as defensive coordinator, and I booed the hire. I booed the Mark Richt hire. I didn't want him at all, but I booed the Manny Diaz hire because I didn't know him, so I booed him, and I had to come in by week 7 and apologize. Just look at our defense was supposed to be behind our offense when he came in. Our offense was supposed to carry our defense. We had nobody knew who our defense was. They have always bought into him. When you are a leader, that's by itself. I don't need to buy in because you lead. And that's what he is. He's a natural born leader. So I don't see us losing games because he's unprepared or the players aren't going to buy into him. I don't see him allowing that to happen. And if you listen to the way Coach Dan Eno speaks, I don't see that being allowed to happen. Anytime you can take an offensive coordinator from from Alabama, which Eno was going to be the offensive coordinator, he got offered the job. That was his job at Alabama to take, and him come to Miami to play to coach with Diaz. I just don't. His leadership is undeniable to me. He took a defense that was ranked in the 100s and got us in the top 5 his first 3 years there.
And absolutely, there is a lot to like about the Manny Diaz hire, but not being a head coach yet will mean that you're going to get out-coached in games, and you're going to have games.
Not if you got a great coaching staff, because it's not just the head coach. You have a coaching staff.
But a lot of it is still rookie offensive line or offensive coaches, and if they're not rookies, they haven't done the job that you're asking them to do for a while. I mean, Dan Enos hasn't been an offensive coordinator since his time in Arkansas, and
I have one for you. I'm gonna do a basketball analogy again. I have one for you. Teron Lue was never a head coach. If you have the best players, great players make coaches look great, not vice versa.
Sure, I mean, and it's true. If you have guys who are going to be great, then Manny Diaz is good. And we saw it with Mark Richt in the season where we went to the Orange Bowl. It was not a good. That was because of the defense. It was not a good coaching job. It was because we had the talent to win games,
and it was because of the defense.
Absolutely, but there are definitely some concerns where if you look at it, Manny Diaz has got to still earn the same respect from me, at least, that other coaches.
He've already earned it from me. I was advocating for it. I was crying and begging, please hire Manny. There is no other coach in the country I wanted besides Manny, maybe Nick Saban or Urban Meyer. Because I look at his demeanor and I look at him on the sideline, and you can tell a lot by looking in a man's eyes. And I look at him and I look at how the players react to him. He is a man. He reminds me of a Jimmy Johnson, Nick Saban type of coach. And I'm 43 and I follow him right now. He's younger than me. I mean, what he does on the sideline, the way he put his way. Look what he did with red wine. Everybody had gave up on red wine. Everybody gave up on him. You know, he's not this guy. He's not. Look at red wine now. You know, he knows how to put people in position. That man plays chess, not checkers. And what he did early in the season, the first thing he did with the tackling dummies, you know, you can either come here and win with us or get your ass beat by us. You know, it's just that mentality that you don't find in a lot of other. You don't find in coaches. You find very rare in coaches. You know, and to me, I'm all in. I'm all in with Manny and Enos. I didn't know about Enos until I listened to him talk too, and you can tell a lot about a man's character when you listen to him really speak. And absolutely. I feel like with Rick, it was more about, you know, my grandkids and my son and this and that, and with Enos and Manny is about, and Blake is about getting these kids better and winning football games.
Absolutely. And
I'm going to split the difference to a certain extent here. So on Kevin's side, I think that there is a certain component to experience on the sideline. I think Kirby Smart's a good example in which he has hit the ground running, although his first season was 8-5 at Georgia, and he had a wealth of talent that he brought in his freshman class, which obviously we've seen since then, but also the Mark Richt era. He had an extremely talented football team that he underachieved with the first year at 8-5, and then he learned a lot, and he's still learning because we see him making mistakes in national championship and SEC championship games that are well scrutinized, even though he's doing an outstanding job overall in building a program to an elite level at Georgia, top 3, top 4 program in the country. He's made some coaching errors on the sidelines strategically. To Zoe's point, it's kind of startling when you think about some of the best jobs in America and where those jobs have gone and how many really successful head coaches right now. This was their first head coaching job. Dabo Swinney at Clemson. We haven't seen it yet, but I'm guessing Ryan Day is going to do rather well at Ohio State. That's a bit of a guess, but I can't imagine that he's going to let that program falter too much. He's a first-year head coach. Lincoln Kennedy, the old Washington offensive lineman. Lincoln Riley taking over for, of course, Bob Stoops at Oklahoma, kept the program rolling.
And you see what happened there, right? I was going to mention that. Where did Lincoln Riley coach at before he coached? Where did Lincoln Riley before Bob Stoops left Oklahoma? What was Lincoln Riley coaching at?
Yeah, he stayed right in the program. Ryan Day at Ohio State, right in the program.
That's what I'm looking at Manny. It's not like with I'm forgetting his name, Kirby Smart. He left Alabama and went to Georgia. You know, Miami. Manny's already embedded in Miami. He's already embedded there. He made it. So that's I'm looking. He doesn't have to build those relationships with those high schools as well because they already know him. So these things that he don't. Most of the players already know him. So he doesn't have to build those type of relationships with. I mean, on the offensive side, he's gonna have to be. But I think he's a guy that's gonna allow his offensive coach to do his job. I don't think he's gonna be that guy that gets in his way. You know, that's where sometimes you make mistakes at. You're not an offensive guy. Lead the offensive off. You hire a guy who knows offense, you let him do the offense. You know, as long as he lets Enos do his job, I think he'll be fine. It'll be timeout situations and stuff like that, clock management and things like that. But I think with talent, we can overcome some of those things. But like I said, the most scary team to me is Florida State. And Florida always scares me because it's a rival. But I'm just loving the job. I'm loving the job those guys are doing down there. Summertime, those guys are busting it. But you're looking at the way some of those guys are in shape. Our offensive linemen look like linebackers now. I mean, those guys look good. You know,
I mean, the conditioning and the strength and conditioning has been amazing this offseason. Yes. But I mean, to mention what Mark said about Dabo Swinney didn't hit the gate running either. He lost 5 games his first season, then lost 7 his second season,
and lost 5 in a row to University of South Carolina. Steve Spurrier beat him 5 times in a row.
Yeah, so
but they didn't have the talent Miami had either. They were building. That's why they were building. They weren't there yet. They had a few players. They had C.J. Spiller. You know, they had a few players, but they weren't there yet. They were working to be there.
Their defense was really marginal for a long time there when he first took over.
So I mean, they didn't have the talent. And that's what I look. Listen, if you had Jared Fish as the offensive coordinator for Miami last year, Mark Richt would probably still have a job. And Manny DIAZ would be gone. Because the offense was that abysmal for 3 straight years. It was that. I kept hearing everybody say his first year. Because I live up in South Carolina. So I watch a lot of Georgia games, and I watch how he plays football. I watch how he coaches football. And I kept hearing people say, he's going to open the office up against Georgia Tech. That's what everybody was saying. He's going to open the office up against Georgia Tech. I was like, all right. Y'all keep being wishful. And it never happened. But with DIAZ, he hit the ground running. Like I said, I did not want him as a defense coordinator at all. But he changed my mind, man. That guy, he's a man, and I can respect that about him.
Mark Rogers TV, the
Absolutely.
voice of college football, where we bring you Miami football talk each and every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. We call it Miami Hurricanes Live, and it comes your way again every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. We got Alonso 1219 on the line, along with Kevin Fielder from State of the U, joined right now by John Michaels from State of the U as well. Before we get to John in just a second, I want to remind you that the Super Chat is on. Help us build the channel. You can obviously jump on here, and if we provide value, then you can certainly compensate that, as well as understand that you can help us build the channel by grabbing the Amazon link in the description section below and help us build the channel. It doesn't cost you an extra penny. Do your Amazon shopping using that link. I got 2 exclusive live streams each and every week on my Voice of College Football community. That link is right below. You can talk directly with me, talk college football, come online as these gentlemen are doing right now. You can do it each and every week on our exclusive live stream there. The other live stream, I respond to your comments. We've gotten over 40,000 year to date.